Hello and welcome to Anderson Community Television. I'm Carol Donahue, your host today of At Your Service. And we welcome to the program Allison Hodson, Paul Drury, and Tom Caruso, a few of my favorite people and friends of our show here. So welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You're very welcome. Well, let's start with you. What would you like to talk about today?
Well, I thought it would be nice to just reintroduce our department, our planning and zoning department here at the township, because often the word doesn't get out what services we provide to the township. So within our department, we do current and long-range planning, we do code enforcement, we staff citizen committees, we provide a whole host of customer service options, and we also provide support for special events in the township, such as most recently, this past October was the Jack-o'-lantern walk, and then coming up around Christmas time will be the tree lighting, Anderson tree lighting, and then throughout the year we have special events in the township, such as the 4th of July parade.
Party on the Plaza.
Party on the Plaza, right, many hosts of activities. So those are just a few things that we do throughout our department.
I think your department must be very busy right now. I've seen quite a few little articles in the paper here and there.
There has been a lot of interest in the township, which is a good thing. We've had a lot of interest from private developers. You've seen a lot of new construction on Beachmont Avenue and off of Beachmont Avenue. For instance, Mercy Hospital is undergoing a major addition for a patient tower addition and a renovation of their existing facilities.
Paul, is that their parking lot they're extending with that brick wall?
Yes, that is their parking lot, and that was the first phase. To make room for the addition, they had to reconstruct their parking lot, and that would be the first phase, and you'll see construction start on the addition after Christmas. There's also a lot of activity on the riverfront with the construction of Belterra Park, formerly known as River Downs, but the entire property of River Downs is completely being rebuilt. The track is being reconstructed, relocated. The main grandstand is being reconstructed into a racino that will include video lottery terminals, new restaurants, as well as the grandstands for the horse racing. So lots of activity in the township. Isn't
that envisioned as one day being almost an entertainment mecca with hopefully a few hotels? Or?
It is. We did a riverfront study that was adopted in January of this year, and the riverfront study called for an area of year-round activity. So, you know, currently with Coney Island and Riverbend, River Downs, it was more seasonal in nature. But our long-range plan for that area calls for a mixed-use neighborhood, a mixed entertainment area that would be attractive to not only Anderson Township residents, but as a regional draw year-round. And that will start with the new Belterra Park.
When is that scheduled to open?
Their tentative plan is to be open by Derby Day in May of 2014.
Wow.
Yes. So, and if you've been by there recently, there is a lot of activity on site. So I no doubt that they can make that deadline.
That's great. Brings more jobs, more
Absolutely,
people spending
more jobs.
money.
It does, yes.
Now, Allison, tell us a little bit about what you do.
General day-to-day stuff. I intake all of our plan requests and permit requests. My staff are Board of Zoning Appeals, so if, for instance, a zoning certificate were to get denied for any reason, people have the option to request a variance for that. I work with Paul on our commercial developments, our large and small scale stuff, everything from stuff like River Downs to the smaller developments you see happening along Beachmont Avenue. And then I chair our Betterment and Beautification Committee.
I see. Well, you've done a great job, especially 5 Mile. Looks great. It's great. So also, are you beginning to sponsor a program called Adopt a Roadway?
Yes, it's through our Betterment and Beautification Committee. Right now, we have 2 events in the spring and the fall, our Great American Cleanup events. And we'd like to expand upon that and have a year-round Adopt a Roadway program where an individual or a homeowners association or even a business can get together and pick a roadway close to them or anywhere in the township, and we ask that they clean it up 4 times a year, but we provide all of the supplies to do that.
Now that wouldn't include Beachmont Avenue, would it? Because that could maybe a little bit of clean.
Right.
It's starting to look a lot better. Some of the additions have really added to the beauty there.
Right. We think it's starting to really come around. One new program, or the township is looking to adopt design guidelines. And design guidelines, most people think of architectural guidelines, so the actual look of a building, what is. But the township is looking to adopt a design guideline recommendations that not only look at the architecture of buildings, but also at landscaping, at their site design, so that includes their parking lot layout and their connections to adjoining properties through sidewalks or cross-access connections. So moving forward, when you see redevelopment on Beachmont Avenue, hopefully you'll see a better quality of product that addresses some of your concerns as well about landscaping and the appearance.
Well, let me ask you, is it true that not a lot can be done with the signage currently because they were like grandfathered in?
Many signs out there are non-conforming, but as you'll see as properties turn over or redevelop, I think you'll see new signage coming into the township is lower than the older signs, and they're more aesthetically pleasing. They tend to match, the shopping center or the building that they're representing. So moving forward, you'll see a change. Of course, it doesn't happen overnight.
Well, then there was a study, wasn't there, with UC students on Clough Pike on that area?
Yes,
Yeah.
and actually Allison had a part of that as well.
Did you? All right. So that is moving along as planned,
Yeah.
following recommendation?
Yeah, and actually Tom can talk a little more about sidewalks in that area and the plans for Clough.
I just think Tom is Mr. Sidewalk.
Yeah, people think of me as that. The project that you're talking about, we're actually getting ready to start the construction of that Clough Pike Business District. And that will include sidewalks, street lighting, some access management, as well as some turn lanes. So we hope when the project is done is there'll be good pedestrian connections. The traffic will flow through the corridor better. The businesses down there will have, we think will have better access to their customers with the pedestrians as well as the redesigned access management and the turn lanes. So it's a way for us to help revitalize that business district, and the construction will start this year.
I'm kind of curious, if you're going to have some turn lanes, you're not going to widen it?
The areas that the turn lanes are in will be widened, but the general scope of Clough Pike will remain about the same.
That's great. That's great. And a long time ago, wasn't there a proposed back driveway connecting businesses in the back so they wouldn't keep going in and off of Beachmont Avenue? Some of them have done that, correct?
Yeah, some of them have. So long-term, the plan, we had students, University of Cincinnati students, originally come up with a draft plan, a business corridor improvement plan. And ideally, there would be rear access connecting all the businesses. However, you have multiple ownerships, and you're dealing with existing conditions and not brand new development. So a long-term goal, if the area were to redevelop, that would be ideal to have a rear access drive. But in the interim, as properties redevelop on their own, either have that connection with a single driveway, or at least having parking lot connection so you can get from point A to point B without having to get onto Clough Pike to get from one business to another.
Would there be any more traffic lights on Beachmont? Because some places are just really hard to.
So on Beachmont, no more traffic lights at this point in time. There's another project going on Beachmont Avenue as well. We've been partnering with ODOT, the Ohio Department of Transportation. Yes.
I know what you're going to say.
We've been partnering with ODOT. They have an access management plan that they will be implementing next year, 2014. And what that means is they have identified driveways that can be consolidated or in some instances narrowed. You don't see this as much on Beachmont anymore as you used to, but you used to have parking lots that came all the way out to the roadway, and there was a very wide access to a business. You don't see that as much, but you can see one property with multiple curb cuts to get into that property, which leads to confusion. It also leads to multiple points of possible conflict, which in turn leads to accidents and congestion. So they have identified driveways that can be consolidated, and then also areas where adjoining properties can share one driveway versus having multiple driveways. So they are working to implement that next year, and so you will see some changes on Beachmont next year.
I thought you were going to go into the continuous flow lane.
No, I don't want to talk about that. With that, it's very hard to explain. It's better to just watch it on our
let
website.
it go.
Yes.
Okay, now another question. What's happening where Woosty Chevrolet used to be?
Well,
That property.
the property has been purchased by Kroger. The entire block has been purchased by the Kroger company. So we anticipate at some point in time for Kroger to come in for a zone change, because the majority of the property on Wolf Angle is still zoned residential. So if Kroger comes through with any proposed addition or any improvements on that property, it does require zone change from residential to commercial. So beyond that, we haven't received any submittals yet. And so, but we do anticipate a zone change at some point.
There was a rendering or a drawing in the paper one time that showed a fountain and a little seating area.
Yes.
Is that something that Kroger may or may not then decide to do?
Well, the township adopted a downtown Anderson plan. We've been very busy in the planning department.
That's what you've been busy.
Right. But the township adopted a downtown Anderson plan, and that is the area on Beachmont, essentially from Forest to Asbury Road, so within that corridor. And the plan suggests that area, it's not only physically the center of the township, but it can be our downtown. We do not have a downtown per se. We grew as a suburb. So that particular block, the rendering that you saw, was at the corner of Wolf Angle and Beachmont, and it is owned by Kroger. So ideally, whatever is built there in the future would resemble something that would fit into a downtown area, something that is pedestrian friendly, a community gathering spot, something more unique than automobile oriented. So it's owned by Kroger. The township plan calls for any development on that corner to resemble something of a downtown feel.
I hope so. That would, I think, yeah.
So that was a rendering, just show what could happen there, and moving forward, we'll see what happens.
I see. Tom, I feel like we've left you out a little bit here. So what's up with the trails?
Well, as people may know, we have just updated the Anderson Trails Plan, and that's been approved by all the agencies. So we're now in that mode. And so you can go on andersontownship.org, go to the Planning and Zoning Department, and it should be on the website where people can look at what sidewalks and trails are being developed. Closer to home, or closer in time anyway, is we have several projects in process. One that we're working with the Hamilton County Parks is a continuation of the Little Miami Trail that will go down from Little Miami Golf Center, make its way through Clear Creek Park and along the Route 32 right-of-way to the parking lot just past the Speedway gas station. That's kind of a temporary place for an end stop. I just received some information today, as a matter of fact, that Hamilton County Park District has applied for funding to continue the Little Miami Trail across Beachmont Avenue and across the Little Miami River to connect with the Lunkin Playfield Trail that also goes to Armleader Park and goes down to the Ohio River Trail. With that connection, the Little Miami Trail will make it all the way to the Ohio River. Long term, the Little Miami Trail will be known as Trail 1 in Ohio, and it will be known as the Ohio to Erie Trail, which will actually go up to Cleveland, Ohio. So,
Wow.
yeah, so,
Oh, I'm on it.
yeah,
So get your bike
See
ready.
me up there rooting for the Browns.
exactly.
Wow.
And then we have other segments, of course, Clough Business District. There's another segment on Clough that we're planning to build next year. What else, Paul? I'm trying to remember all the stuff we have.
What would
going.
be the other segment on Clough?
It goes from Fox Hollow to the YMCA.
Oh, okay.
So another popular segment that we applied for a grant and where we received funding was for Wolf Angle sidewalks, and that would be from Bowen to State on Wolf Angle. And we've heard for many years that that was direly needed. So we're pretty excited about that. That would actually go into construction around the late 2015.
Now, if I found a magic lamp with a genie inside, got my wish, I would wish for sidewalks in Turpin, but I don't think that's on the board. But because that is so important, I think, with children and people walk. And I notice in these communities with no sidewalks, people keep gravitating toward the middle, and you're driving down, and they've got little headphones, you know.
Right, right.
It's scary. But so many people are now using that trail as you drive through the township.
That-
It's amazing.
It has become one of our more popular programs, and I do get people that, when I first started volunteering for the township, of course, people didn't know why we would build sidewalks. And of course, now it's, why aren't you building a sidewalk in our area? So it's something that people see a need for, and I think it makes sense. And we're learning more and more that having these passive physical activities like being able to get out of your house and take a walk is really important for your health. And so I was just at a conference last week talking about health and how the planned environment can really help with people's health. So sidewalks are one of those things that can help people get in better shape and feel better and last longer.
And what a message after eating all that turkey and all that pumpkin pie and Christmas right here. And, you know, it'd be nice, maybe start a new tradition. Have your big meal and then maybe go out and take a little walk.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
very good. Well, getting back to naming the street, have you publicized that much, or has that been
So naming the street
naming the street?
of which
Not naming the street, I'm sorry. Beautifying the
Naming it.
street.
you, the
The right way.
At the top
You
of the
get a little
program.
moment there.
Yeah, we have a few articles within Anderson Insights.
Oh, good.
Since that gets mailed to everybody in the township, we find that's a good outreach tool.
I
that
have
are-
to say, my neighborhood, excuse
No,
me,
you're fine.
has adopted a road, and
Really?
so yeah, there are some around that have already started.
Yeah, we've got a few homeowners associations that do it, as well as a few businesses that have reached out to us and have expressed interest in it. And we did get a grant from the Ohio EPA this year that we're using for signage for those groups that have sponsored roadways, so we can kind of advertise them a little too.
Wow, just good things going on all over. So now, getting back to my friend Paul here.
Okay.
We've read so much in the paper about what could possibly maybe someday in the future happen with perhaps, 800 or 900 units running along the southern part of the township.
Yes.
What's up with that?
What's up with that?
Yeah.
So there is a vacant piece of property, I should say. It's about 330 acres approximately. The township hosted it's called a pre-submittal meeting. So what that meeting is, it offers the chance for a property owner or a developer, in this case it was the actual property owner, representative of the property, to present some concept plans to the community as an idea of what could happen on that property. So that's what the township did. We had a pre-submittal meeting. There was a mix of housing types offered up for that particular 330 acres, ranging from your traditional single-family home on a large lot to apartments. So a wide range. It went from single-family cluster, detached single-family, condominiums, duplex. So the whole range of different housing types. It was just a concept of what could happen, just to gauge the community's feedback on that proposal, and if the property owner should move forward with a zone change would have to take place. The area is only zoned for single family currently. So any development on that site has to go through a rezoning process, which is you know, a 6 to 8 month process in itself. And we'll see if the owner decides to move forward with that concept or not.
What's the topography like back there? Is it very rolling?
Rolling is tame. It's steep.
Drops.
So the plan that was presented at the meeting called for only 40% of the site to be developed and the remaining 60% of the site to remain in its natural state, essentially, and be conserved. So the plan wasn't for a complete development of the entire site. It was a 40% developed, 60% undeveloped, and that was to maintain the character of the natural environment around that area.
'Cause I would imagine part of that's heavily wooded, correct?
Part of it is heavily wooded, not all, because it actually used to be agriculture, and only until the past 10 to 15 years has it not been used for agriculture. So some of the growth on it is not as mature on some of the area, but there are areas of mature growth.
Some of the people that I know are strongly hoping that if that happens, they do something like with a patio home or an empty nester home, because, you know, senior citizens and people approaching that age, we would love to stay here. And we've lost a lot of really great people to Legendary Run and different developments in Claremont County, even as far as to Mason. So that, you know, that would be on the plus side. But I'm sure you're hearing a lot on both sides of the fence.
We're hearing on both sides of the fence, and the township goes through these planning processes to gauge public input, and we've heard both. In our comprehensive planning, which we did in 2005 and 2011, and then with the Riverfront Plan, we heard from both sides of the population, like you said. There is a need for different housing choices in the township, whether it's for your empty nesters or even young professionals who maybe grew up here, left, went to college, came back, and aren't ready for a large single-family home yet, but want to be in the community. And same way with empty nesters who want to maybe downsize but want to stay in the community. So during both planning processes, we heard from residents that type of housing is needed. So the question is, well, we know there's a need, but where do you put it and what's appropriate and where? So it'll be interesting moving forward to help balance the needs of the community.
I think we've covered a lot of subject here. Is there anything else that's going on that we need to, or could be on the horizon? Amy, no?
Anything?
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
No,
I was going to defer.
there's a lot going on, but I
Is
don't
there
know.
anything going on along 32?
With the Eastern Corridor project,
Yeah, I should.
I mean, it's still in the planning processes.
It's still in the planning process. I went to another meeting about 32 realignment, and that has added an additional step in the planning process to see if there's a need for a realigned 32, if there is, where it should go, and how soon it should be built. So that process is going on. But as I tell a lot of people, a lot of this 32 realignment study has been going on since the 90s. And a lot of people say, well, it's in plan, when are they ever going to do anything? But the new interchange at 275, Red Bank Road upgrades, there have been aspects of the Eastern Corridor study that have been implemented throughout this whole time, including some of our trails projects here in Anderson. So it continues to be studied. Anderson Township's policy has always been, we're not for or against a realigned 32. What we are for is to study it, to see what improvements can and should be made in Anderson, because it's going to take a large portion of our property. A lot of people think Newtown is affected, Mariemont is affected. Most of that corridor goes through Anderson Township. So we want to make sure we know exactly what's going on, and we have a seat at the table to make sure that we're involved in the planning. And so we continue to do that.
Well, you're all doing a great job keeping us informed. I love reading all the articles, communicating. That's great.
Well, and that's what I would like to add. You know, I think programs such as these can be very informative. Our website, andersontownship.org, the Anderson Insights, the printed newsletter that goes to all township residents. So, and if anyone ever has a question about a project that we're involved with, a plan or planning process, that we're always looking for input. And those are great sources to find out what's going on. Also, just calling or emailing us as well.
And I think too, the website will be listed on the screen along with your email if someone has any suggestions or questions. Well, thank you so much for coming today. I know this is such a busy time with holidays and people in and out. So we do appreciate you taking the time to speak with us and keep us informed. What an exciting time to be living in Anderson and seeing all the growth and the changes and the beautification. And we thank you for all that you do. And we thank you for watching Anderson Community Television. This is Carol Donahue saying have safe holidays, and we'll see you next time.